Hi guys, and welcome to Tailored Talk. This is going to be a quick reaction to Matt Walsh's video. My response to those who are out to get me, and this is going to be my reaction to Matt Walsh's video. So let's get started.
Well, I should have known that last week would be interesting. It began in an unusual way. On Sunday, I was leaving church with three of my kids in tow, and as I was walking towards the car, I heard someone shout my name from behind me. And I get flagged down by fans on the way out of church pretty frequently, as you might expect. The church-going crowd is my core demographic, so I didn't think it was anything, out of the ordinary. And the guy ran up, shook my hand, started making friendly small talk, but then his tone changed suddenly, and he told me that actually he thinks that my work has a terrible impact on the world. He said that this church, the one we just came out of, is a place of love, not hate, and I'm not welcome.
Now, the churchgoer is 100% correct about the church being a place of love, but as a churchgoer, the last time I checked, doesn't have the right to tell another churchgoer that they can't attend the church. I mean, they're not an employee for the church, they're just an attendee. Churchgoers don't set the rules. So that must have been really weird for Matt to hear.
Now, I responded in no uncertain terms that he can't speak to me that way in front of my children and that he should be ashamed of himself. He turned around and walked hurriedly away, and that was the end of the conversation. Now, I hoped that my kids who were standing there hadn't been paying attention maybe, and maybe didn't realize what the guy said to me. I was hoping perhaps it didn't register on them. But when we got to the car, my son started to cry, and he asked me why that mean man said those things. And
Kids can be the most observant at the worst of times, and Matt is right. The guy shouldn't have said that in front of his kids. If he wanted to talk to Matt about the church, he should have talked to Matt and pulled him aside when he was alone.
Explain to him that there are people in this world who don't like it when you speak the truth and when you try to do what's right. Their hearts are shrouded in darkness and they hate the light, just as the Bible says. Now, I tried to act unfazed for the sake of my kids, but the truth is that I was extremely angry. I don't care what you say about me or to me, but you've crossed the line when you make my boy cry. But it was an important lesson for him to learn and for me to relearn in preparation for the week ahead. So on Monday afternoon, I was informed that YouTube was demonetizing my channel. And this was the first step towards a possible permanent demonetization or banishment from the platform.
I honestly think that Matt won't get banned right now. He's way too popular.
Entirely. YouTube keeps its rules intentionally vague. That's the way they play the game. They'll penalize you for violating their policies, and yet they won't explain exactly what their policies are. So the company gives itself the license to single anybody out for whatever reasons they decide. They accused me of engaging in hateful conduct, which supposedly ran afoul of both their community guidelines and their ads guidelines. They already took the step of deleting a number of my offending episodes, which are gone now from YouTube, which is something that, again, they did on their own. And now they're taking away our ads, which is a penalty of more than $100,000 per month. That's what it adds up to. Now, they provided us with...
I love the fact that Matt gives everybody the exact cost of the ad revenue that they will be missing, so that viewers know exactly how much they all need to donate.
Just 3 examples of my infractions, and these aren't all of them, they said, but they told us about 3. And they wouldn't tell us why they were infractions, but they said that... they told us what 3 of them were, and they said all 3 of them had to do with Dylan Mulvaney, coincidentally. And they all seem to involve the crime of quote-unquote misgendering. So, for example, one of the violations occurred when I referred to Mulvaney as a, quote, guy. That was a violation. And what you should know is that we were not flagged by the algorithm. Okay, it's not one of those algorithmic glitches. And this does not appear to be some low-level decision at the company either. Yet, a path to remonetization is available. It seems that we can get back into YouTube's good graces, get our monetization back by simply respecting preferred pronouns and refraining from offering any meaningful critiques of.
That sounds reasonable. I mean, YouTube aren't sending out, crazy demands.
Gender ideology. In other words, all I have to do to get all that back is forfeit my integrity and betray all of my deepest held principles. That's it.
How do you forfeit your integrity and your principles by calling a trans woman she, or calling a trans man a he, or addressing a non-binary person by whatever pronouns? It really is no skin off your nose to get pronouns correct.
Now, not to skip ahead, but I can tell you right now that my answer to that offer is not only no, but hell no. The next day, shortly after I finished eating dinner with my family, I noticed that my Twitter account had been logged out on my computer. And I tried to log back in, but the password didn't work, and that's when I knew that I was hacked. So I grabbed my phone to call my team about it, but my phone had stopped working at the precise moment when the Twitter hack happened, and that's when I knew that the hack went far beyond Twitter. As we would soon find out, the hacker had pulled off a maneuver known as SIM swapping, and that's a thing where the targets, the person who's being targeted, your phone number is transferred over to a SIM card that the hacker controls. And once they have your number and your SIM card, they can access almost anything. And
wow, I've never heard of that type of hacking before. That sounds insane. But super useful though. Maybe they need to join a government agency.
this hacker did. He got into my text messages, my DMs, my emails, everything. Leftists and trans activists were giddy. They were cheering on the attack. They begged for my private messages to be released. They said that I deserved to be the victim of this federal crime. At least one journalist openly solicited my stolen information, put out his email address, and asked for my stolen DMs and my stolen information to be sent to him, to be emailed to him. The hacker then did an interview.
Please tell me that this hacker was arrested at some point.
With this same journalist who works for the publication Wired. The hacker apparently showed the journalist my tax documents, showed him some of my pictures, some of my old emails. The article directly quotes one of my private emails, though it contained nothing salacious or even mildly interesting. In fact, it was a friendly exchange I had with Steven Crowder 10 years ago. And this made it into the Wired article for some reason. Facts and logic are a precious rarity. The only interesting revelation in the article is that the hacker says that he had help in pulling off this hack from an unspecified, quote unquote, insider.
A mole from the Matt Walsh camp volunteered to help a hacker reveal secret text messages and tweets. I shouldn't be surprised, but I am.
And we have independently, as we've been tracking this down, we've independently found other evidence which also points in that direction, that there was help from an insider. However exactly he did it and whoever helped him, and we will find all this out, I promise you, it resulted in something much worse than the mere headache of somebody posting dumb tweets from my account. This was a total violation of our privacy, and if I'm being completely honest with you, it was one of the worst things that my family has ever experienced. I didn't sleep that night. I was up with our security team, our tech guys, lawyers, trying to put out a dozen fires all at once. Through the following day, we had people on the phone with Microsoft, Apple, Google, Twitter, my cell phone carrier, the FBI, local law enforcement, etc. It was a nightmare, even with all these resources available.
I hope he realizes that all these resources of lawyers and other hackers and the FBI, all these resources is extra help that us average Joes just wouldn't be able to have. I hope he recognizes how much privilege he has.
To me, the fact that we can just get on the phone with all these different companies and try to solve this problem, even with that, it's a nightmare. I can't imagine what this kind of attack is like for people who aren't so fortunate. You know, if you're stuck in a situation where all you can do is call 1-800 numbers, then that's going to make it all the worse. On Wednesday, with no sleep, I flew to the University of Iowa to deliver a speech in front of what turned out to be a massive sold-out crowd. A lot of energy in the room, which gave me enough of a boost to get through the event without passing out on stage or, descending into incoherent Joe Biden mumbles. Outside, there were throngs of protesters taking to the streets. They were stopping traffic. They were blocking the exit.
I saw little clips from that meeting in Iowa, and they were actually calling Matt like a predator and stuff on the banners. What was that about? Does anybody have any more information? Is that just complete lies and BS? Are there any truth to what those banners were saying?
It's out of the event. They also dumped thousands of marbles in the hallway outside of the auditorium where the event was taking place in hopes of, making people slip and fall and causing serious injury to hundreds of people as they're walking out. Fortunately, that plan failed. So to summarize, it was a difficult week, but also fully in keeping with my experience over the past year or more. Especially since my film, What is a Woman, came out, we have been doxxed, threatened, stalked, harassed almost constantly. The threats became severe and frequent enough shortly after the film came out to necessitate 24-hour armed security in our home. Last night, there was a Reddit post which went viral from somebody calling me a homophobic Nazi.
That is absolutely ridiculous. Did that post get taken down? And number two, what happened to the Redditor that posted it? I mean, I hope they were banned.
And saying that I should be murdered. The poster said that he's, quote, tired of me getting away with this. And when he says getting away with it, what he's talking about is that I'm getting away with expressing my beliefs openly. He's tired of that. And he said that there needs to be consequences, quote unquote. The consequences, he specifies, should involve me being bludgeoned to death with a baseball bat. And the thing is that this is not the sentiment of just one random weirdo on Reddit. In fact, somebody posted something similar to Twitter a few weeks ago saying that I should be tortured and killed, and it got tens of thousands of likes. And
the sad thing is, that his kids, his family, his friends are reading those death threats.
Thousands of supportive comments. There is a wide consensus on the left that I deserve to be killed, and they have made that point abundantly clear. But the good news is that we're not taking any of this lying down. I'm going to be working with law enforcement. I am working with law enforcement right now to ensure that the person who hacked into my phone and anybody who granted him access is punished to the full extent of the law. We are going to sue everybody involved. I can't say much more about it right now, except that many different wheels are currently in motion. And if the people who did this aren't nervous right now.
How many years will that hacker get in prison when they're found? That's the question.
They should be. On the YouTube front, as long as they make affirmation of gender ideology a prerequisite for posting my show on the platform, I will not post my show on the platform. But I also will not allow myself to be banished into obscurity off to some internet ghetto where nobody will find my content. You see, big tech, this is the choice they want us to make. They want me either to surrender my principles or become irrelevant. And they'll be happy with whichever of those two options I choose. Either one, fine with them.
But it's not either or. You don't have to do either. You just have to respect other people's pronouns. That's it. It's not hard, Matt.
Which is why I choose neither. Instead, starting today, we're going to make this show available to everyone for free on the Daily Wire. It'll also be available on Rumble, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all the other places you normally get your podcasts. And we're trying something new as well. Starting today, every episode of the show will also be posted in full on Twitter, which is now the most powerful free speech platform in the world. And it seems like the place where this show belongs. If you follow our channel on YouTube, you can still find plenty of content that we'll make specially for you. We'll still post clips from the show so we can reach new audiences with our message. But we're not going to give YouTube our full show so long as the situation remains as it is. To capitulate, but we also aren't going to scale down and become obsolete. Instead, we're going to be bigger. We're going to be more innovative. We're going to reach more people in more ways on more platforms. That's our response. And this is just the beginning. I'll have more to announce soon. Also, we've been talking with Congress. YouTube shouldn't be allowed legally to hold its users to standards of conduct that it refuses to properly explain.
But Matt, YouTube have told you exactly why they've demonetized you, and that's because of misgendering. It's not their fault if you don't want to accept it, but that's why you're being demonetized, and you know it.
It's not just, this is what people need to understand. It's not just that they target conservative voices, which they do, and that's bad enough on its own, but that they do it in this incredibly underhanded way with intentionally ambiguous rules that are enforced unevenly according to their opaque policies that they often seem to be making up as they go along. The only way this changes is if the people running YouTube experience a sudden and mysterious bout of integrity, or if the law forces it to change. And I'm not betting on the former, so instead I'll fight for the latter, and I will take the fight all the way to Capitol Hill. Now, there is a point at the end of this whole saga. The point is
Capitol Hill? Do you mean January 6th? Capitol Hill. That Capitol Hill, Matt.
That one of the most important points, anyway, is that the term culture war is no mere metaphor. It's certainly not anymore. We are up against people who have no interest in debates, no interest in discussion. If you oppose them, they will not engage with your arguments. They will simply try to silence you.
Now, we all know that that's not true. There's viral clips all over America of people engaging with Matt all over the place in every state. So we know that what he's just said is not true.
And ruin you. There will be no rebuttals, except for the ones that they issue in the form of censorship, death threats, and worse. The more that they perceive that you are a threat, the more that they will work to destroy you and everyone associated with you. That's the way it works. But this should not dissuade us. Okay, we shouldn't be discouraged by the viciousness of our opponents, but motivated by it.
But purposely misgendering people, isn't that vicious in its own right?
It couldn't possibly be more clear who is on the wrong side and who is on the right side. This is about as black and white as a cultural divide can possibly get. There is one side that hates the truth, rejects the truth in principle, and wishes total destruction on everyone who speaks it.
That's a huge, colossal generalization.
All you have to do is choose the side that is not that side. Now, it may require courage to take that kind of stand, but at least you'll know where to stand. There's not any confusion about this. As for my ongoing ordeal, or ordeals, I should say, I didn't tell you all of it so that you would feel sorry for me. Okay? Pity is the last thing that I want. I chose this line of work. I chose to be in this fight.
Of course, it's not only pity, it's pity and your money.
I went into it with my eyes open. Okay, I knew what I was getting into. I may get hit with a curveball on occasion. I may be introduced to new concepts like SIM swapping, for example. But mostly, I'm getting exactly what I expected from the vicious, bloodthirsty rage mob and its leaders in big tech. And it has not dissuaded me even slightly. I still will not back down by an inch or compromise at all. I've told you many times that I would rather be dead than surrender to these people, and I meant it.
Wait a minute, you would rather not be here than actually call a trans person their preferred pronouns? Did I just hear that right? Did he just say that?
So to all the people who are sending me death threats and posting my home address and hacking my accounts and trying to blackmail me and threaten me, giving away my personal information, mass reporting me to get me deplatformed, and all the rest of it, I want you to know that nothing you have done or will do or could do will ever make me shut up. It will never happen. None of your schemes have worked or can ever work. It is all futile. Your efforts are hopeless. The truth is the truth. And I will never pretend otherwise. I am not here to make a martyr of myself. I don't want any of the good guys to be martyrs. I want us to win.
Win what? Matt, I really do think this war is just a figment of transphobes' imaginations. I really do. So guys, that's the end of the video. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for listening. Have a great day. Take care.